Hi, this is Sarah Rockwell of www.spiritualcoachingforyou.com and www.howcanidistress.com. Today, we're going to talk about our trees, the spaces of our lives. And what brought this to the forefront for me was that I co-own some acreage, and right now it's being logged. So if anybody has ever owned land, whether it be a small plot or a large plot, and has needed some tree work done, you may have experienced some similar emotions that I have. And there's a space for those emotions. Uh, at times, I look at the trees and I'm enormously sad. And there's a sad space in my body where I've even cried because I've been sad that I'm losing trees. And the opposite side of that mixed feeling of my sadness is delight and joy, because the acreage that is being logged right now hasn't been logged for probably 60 to 80 years. And there are old dead trees that have fallen or are getting ready to fall, and that really no longer have no worth. So on one side I'm really sad, and one side I'm very joyful. And I think that's with anything in our lives that we can feel that way. We can feel that way about cars, we can feel that way about our animals, we can feel that way about anything in our lives. To me, trees are living beings. And it's interesting that my son, as he is observing the trees being cut down, and it's such a sophisticated operation now that there's a machine, and I don't know what the name of it is, but it comes, grabs the tree, cuts it, and then places it exactly where it wants it. So you don't hear this timber and hear a tree fall. It's just it grasps onto the tree, it cuts it, it lays it down. So my son was saying to me, isn't it really interesting, because these trees are living their lives, and all of a sudden there's this machine that comes and ends their life. And he was talking as if the tree had feelings and thoughts. Obviously the tree is vibratory and has a lot of energy and photosynthesis and all that. So I gave that a thought for a few minutes. You know, what happens if the trees did have thoughts and all of a sudden a machine came and just cut them down and they no longer existed? Give that a thought for a minute and see what you feel in response to that. So my son has more mixed feelings, or his feelings are more towards sadness. And I feel the sadness of the trees too, because I'm a very intuitive person. So I am feeling sad about the trees that are sacrificing their life, that have to be cut to reach the trees that need to be cut. And the whole thing is quite an operation, because the boundaries of the land hadn't been marked for a long time, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So all the boundaries of the land are being marked again. And one of my neighbors wants us to cut trees that are on the line, because he's been worried about a couple of trees landing on his home. And during this operation, we are going to remove those trees. So and this will ease his stress, because he's not mentioned this just once to me. Several times a year he's mentioned, about 2 trees that he's concerned are going to fall on his house. I can guarantee you that it wouldn't have been soon. Whether it would have been in the future and with a big storm, possibly. So to be able to relieve that stress for him but still maintain the beauty of the landscape will be well worth it to both of us. So today, the reason why I'm dressed in a tank top is because I keep going out and watching the operation. Because there are skidders, there are other machines, they're sorting the logs, they'll be chipping later, and it's such an operation. I had a minor logging done a couple of years ago because I'm in tree growth status with my taxes, and the land has to be maintained. And at that point in time, just because a few logs were cut, a horse dragged them out. So seeing these big machines go down in and pull these logs without effort up to a landing area where they are lifted, placed, skidded, and I don't know if that's the right term or not, but all the branches taken off, and then they're laid down, they're cut to certain lengths, and then they're sorted according to tree type. Now, in addition to my having some income from the logging, also maintaining the land in tree growth status, I will also have some firewood, because oftentimes I heat my house during the winter with oil or with electricity. I have different zones, and with a wood stove in the family room. So really, these trees will be serving multiple purposes. Next week, it gets closer to home. Right now, it's the land that I co-own around me. Next week, it will be coming on to my 2-acre, 2.5-acre plot of land to look at the trees and see which trees need to come down that could really land on my house. There was a hurricane 2 years ago, and a tree did from my neighbor's fall down, and it caused harm to my gutter, but it never went through my roof. So while this whole process of the 69 acres is being done, I also decided to do around my home, because there are trees that are dead. There's a tree that has been wonderful I've lived here since 1989. Some shade trees that have been wonderful, but what I'd noticed is that there was sap or some liquid coming out of the bottom of the trunk of a tree. And I found out from the forester that this was root damage done 20 to 25 years ago, so probably when the land was cut for the plot, so the house site, the roots had probably been damaged then, but it's only being in evidence or showing itself now. So I feel very blessed that that tree has given us so much shade. I told you I have mixed feelings, and the tears are coming. So what we'll be doing is looking at the trees right on my property, and I'm sure next Friday when I speak to you that I'll be a lot more emotional about it. So this week, what I'd like you to think about is something in your life that perhaps you've had for a long time, that has vibratory energy. I mean, trees vibrate at a very different energy, and you can feel the energy. You can lean against a tree. In the wintertime, what I've witnessed is the energy of the tree is so enormous. Some of the trees that I've had in my yard, that the snow melts in a circle around them. I oftentimes have 6 to 10 inch circles that are bare around a tree because the energy has been so high and it's melted the snow. So this, it could be a car. I mean, cars necessarily don't have energy unless we put gas in them, but you know, think of a favorite car you've had, and that after a period of time, you either wanted to sell it or you needed to sell it, but there were some type of emotions associated with it. So just log or journal on something that you gave up or chose to give up, and what those mixed feelings were, and what kind of space that held. As I said to you, the space is holding sadness for me, but the space is also an enormous space for there's an enormous space for joy and elation, because it's going to be so much brighter around here. I may see sunsets and sunrises, which I haven't been totally able to see because of the crowding of the trees. So I can see benefits, and I can see transformation happening, and I can be happy with that, and I can dance with that. So look at something in your life that the space at the time that you had the feelings, whether they were sadness or elation, or that you had both feelings, like how you got through that space. How you made that constricted space into a more expanded space, and you are able to feel more joy, happiness, or just felt you were on purpose in your life. You know that you can always reach me at www.spiritualcoachandfew.com or www.howcanidistress.com to share your stories with me. This week, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.